traditions here, they are Brazilians that they follow ISKCON or Ananda Marga or Ramakrishna Mission or some other kind of Hindu institution.
I think I want to reconfirm if we have gone live on Hindu scriptures or not. Uh, yes, okay. I think we are live. I was
Okay.
bit skeptical whether it's going live properly or not. Okay, so like I mean, who is your guru then? Who's your first guru?
Well, that's a important question. I think that I got many different gurus from my completely study. Like I first met the yoga, as I said. So in the first line, it was Swami Shivananda that I met on the line of Shankaracharya Advaita Vedanta. I made a Diksha and a teacher training course in Hatha Yoga Vedanta in 2008. So it was like my first guru, but later I found Krishna and it deeply touched me. So I'm more following more the Vaishnava Bhakti movement under the leadership of Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayana Goswami Maharaj. That is my Diksha Guru. And his disciple, my Siksha Guru, Srila Bhaktivedanta Vana Goswami Maharaj. They are from Gaudiya Math. Gaudiya Math
That is Madhava
Sampradaya is
Goswami.
quite popular here now.
Okay, so how many locals are following Hindu Dharma? Have you got any idea? Do you have any bhakti group, any satsang group, or who are the like which kind, which I mean, which guru from which sampradaya come to Brazil?
Yeah, here you can find many gurus from ISKCON. ISKCON is the main group here. They have many temples. They have many sannyasis, Brazilian sannyasis. But they're not growing too much nowadays. The more powerful now is Gaudiya Math and Vrinda Mission, that are also Vaishnavas traditions, but not exactly ISKCON. And Gaudiya Mata, they send sannyasi here, especially Shilavana Maharaj, twice a year to preach. So he is more than 10 years that he's coming to Brazil. You can find also other institutions here like Ananda Marga. Ananda Marga is very, very strong in Brazil. They are like a Shaiva group. They teach meditation and yoga. And they have many sannyasis. They call Dada and Didi. And they have many monks of Ananda Marga in Brazil. They have some ashram retreats. You can also find a Ramakrishna temple, Swami Ramakrishna Mandir institution in São Paulo, but they don't give much initiations. I think there's more like reserved. And there is a popular group now. There's from Vedanta, Advaita Vedanta, from Gloria Arieta. She's a big scholar of Vedanta, and she has a Vidya Mandir. It's a spiritual place that she teaches Vedanta in, I think it's in Rio de Janeiro. And she have many followers in teaching Vedanta, and she even won the Bharata Ratna award last year. I'm not sure. Yeah.
Yes, yeah. Right.
So you can find many groups. Even you can find disciples of Osho, of I don't know, Swami Nityananda, many kinds of Sadhguru, Ravi Shankar. You can find many different gurus here, disciples, no, from this kind of gurus, but not many temples. From most of the temples are from ISKCON and Gaudiya Math. There is some Shiva temples in São Paulo, in Rio, I guess, and some Devi temples also from Shakti worship, but they are not big groups. They are small groups, some few sadhakas. And you can find also, there's more popular here nowadays is not exactly Hindu spirituality, but Hindu arts. You can find a lot of people that practice Ayurveda, yoga, Jyotish, Bharatanatyam, Odissi, this kind of music, arts, dance, astrology, Ayurveda. This is very popular here. Ayurveda, you can find many groups, many Ayurvedic centers, and even some acharyas that work and preach with Ayurveda in Brazil.
So Ayurveda, what do they cover? It's a remedial or massage or therapy or health, wellness. Which part of
Yeah,
which
that
area?
you can find both. Mostly are therapists that do massage, like Abhyanga, Shirodhara, but you can also find some doctors. But is the Brazil legislation, the laws that rules from medicine, they don't allow that a person practice Ayurvedic medicine if he isn't a doctor. So a person needs to be graduated in allopathic medicine, so it can work with Ayurvedic as a medicine from Brazil legislation. So it's kind of a rule that we have from the government. Ayurveda is recognized here, but you need to be a doctor if you want to work with Ayurveda as a medicine.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. I mean, of course, the laws are
Yeah,
important to avoid some misuse of this knowledge.
definitely.
Um, right. So then, all these temples and all you mentioned, do they face any kind of discrimination? Do you have a minority laws in place, or do you have enough non-Christians there? What is the other demographic? Before we go to the main topic, what you are going to present, let's see the scenario in your country.
Yeah, Brazil is it's a very rare country because we were a colony. Native people here, they were like native traditions. They follow like shamanic traditions like pajalança. And after they came with the African slaves, so many African slaves came to Brazil, and also they bring it to Brazil a lot of Jews and gypsies, but they always forced converted these people. So they were sending all the degradates from Portugal and Spain, they sent it to Brazil and forced converted these people. So these people mixed here. We have a really miscegenated culture that people have different backgrounds, and these also added to our religious identity. So even we are a Christian nation, we have a lot of syncretism also. Many Christians here, they practice also African religions, and they do to gypsies, and they go to spiritual healers, and they are especially the Catholics. The Catholics are more mixed. They are not so strict Christians anymore. Like most of them are not religious. They don't really care about religion, or they like all religions. Some become New Age, some become other religions, and those that remain Catholics, they became like, okay, everything is fine. But the Pentecostal Christians, they are more fanatic. The new movements of Christians like evangelicals, and here have many groups, they tend to be more fanatics and more aggressive towards minority religions, but not always dangerous. They use it to attack the African religions, because African religions are more popular here. You can find many African religions, and they used to attack their temples. African religions, Hindu temples are very few, and they usually in the center of the city or in a big nice place. So it's kind of protected. So there is not any problem that I heard it recently, at least. In the past, it has, and in the past. In the beginning of ISKCON, they have a lot of problems with the government, but nowadays it's safe, and the government, it's kind of gives some protection.
That is very good. So, like you have studied quite a few limbs of Vedantas and also the Hindu scriptures. What would you like to talk about today? What is your discoveries and what have you basically understood?
Well, that's a very Vedic literature is very vast. You can find many topics. I love history a lot. So one of the main topics that I study is about Indian history, Hindu history. Now I'm working on my graduation thesis. So I'm writing about Sarasvati River and Indus Valley civilization and the connections with Rig Veda and this kind of topics. But I appreciate a lot bhakti movement. I love to chant to Krishna. I love to kirtan and bhajan and puja, and that is my heart's go in completely joy. But I like all, like I said, I work with yoga, so I teach asanas and pranayamas, and I love yoga because it makes my body fit, it makes my mind healthy. And also I work and study with astrology, Jyotish. So Jyotish is like one of my main passions. I love to study about Jyotish and how the karma affects our lives.
Uh, Are you going to, are you showing any PPT for the topic?
Slides?
Yes, slides, yeah.
Yeah, I have some slides here.
Yeah.
I prepared.
Yeah.
You can see? How
Um,
can I put in Zoom?
okay, I thought you already know. um, you have this option of share screen.
Okay, share screen.
Yeah, from there you can do.
Yes. Done?
It's coming. Yeah.
Okay, in Hindu Dharma in Brazil, I put here, you can see? Here I put the East and West so people can see the differences of mindset, that we have the Western mindset and the Eastern mindset, that they're very different. But in Brazil, we are far away from East and West. We are in the South. So we have a different perspective here. It's not exactly West. So here's South America. You can see many countries: Venezuela, Colombia, Peru, Bolivia, Argentina, and Brazil, the biggest country in South America. Brazil is huge, have many territories, different states. Like in North, you can see the Amazon area, the Amazon forest. I live in South Brazil, here in Paraná state. Paraná is a big state, and I live in the western frontier in Foz do Iguaçu, near the Iguaçu Falls, a beautiful place that you can find the huge waterfall systems. It's one of the major tourist attractions in Brazil. So first, to start about Brazil, I need to talk a little bit about the native people of Brazil, the Amerindians. They came from Asia in the ancient times. The historians now, they know that they came from Asia. And they call it the Brazil as Pindorama. The name of Brazil in native language is Pindorama. They call it like that. There are different tribes. You can find many different cultures and ethnicities among the native tribal people, and different languages. Like in India, you can speak many different languages. In native people of Brazil, you can find each of color of these is one language of the native tribals people. They use it to spoke. And different nations, native nations that live in Brazil territory. So they are very vast, different culture and ethnicities. You can find many different kinds of native people in Brazil. Till the Portuguese came. The Portuguese came to Brazil in 1500 and they captured Brazil land from native tribal. If you look native tribal people, they use it to live almost naked, just cover sometimes the sex part of the body. And because here is very hot usually, and they live very close to nature. They have a deep connection with nature in their traditions and heritage. Here is a beautiful place with beautiful beaches and rainforests. So many different tribes. And the Christians came, no? So they came with the colonization and they tried to convert the native people here and do forced conversions and enslaved. So they put the native tribals as slaves and they tried to enslave the nations. And here is a picture of slavery of native tribals from last century that still existed. And then the native tribals, they didn't cooperate with slavery because they choose it to suicide. Use it, the native tribals don't really serve it as slaves. When they capture as slaves, they use it to suicide. So the Portuguese started to bring Africans as slaves. So they put in huge commerce of human slavery from Africa to America, including Brazil. Brazil is one of the countries that most received slaves from Africa in the colonial period, and they was captured and put it in very it is one of the shameless periods of human history. They treated them worse as animals. They shaved their hairs, they beat them, they put some in the sea for they cooperate based on fear. So it was really shameful episode of human history, and they came to here and worked as slaves in all fields, in the markets, in the agriculture, and in mineration, and they worked as the labor class of Brazil. And then the Portuguese bring it also what we call the new Christians in the Inquisition times. Like they did similar in Goa. They started to do Inquisition in Goa. They did it here with the native people, but also with a lot of degrades, like as we told about the Jews and the gypsies and these kind of people in Europe. They were sent to Brazil and forced converted to Brazil by Inquisition here. Like here, the gypsies from Brazil, mostly they came from this period, but their ancestry is from India. They speak similar linguists as Sindhi and Punjabi. So they have ancestry from India. Today, they are mostly Christians, but they still preserve some aspects of their culture and their traditions. And they live here in Brazil. So the Jesuits, they tried to convert the native people. They made huge campaigns in my area here. It was Guarani land. Guarani is a native tribal community. So they evangelized this community, hear about slavery again. And then came the refugees of World War. After World War in Europe, many refugees from Italy, from Germany, from Poland, even from Japan, they came to Brazil as refugees. And my mother family also came from Italy as a refugee in the World War. So you can see that Brazil is a really miscegenated nation. We have a mixed population. Our population, the first generation of Brazilians are from European, Portuguese, Spanish men with native women. So they captured the native women by force, and the first generation of Brazilians are like that. Later, the Portuguese also, they mated with the African slaves and bring it another generations of Brazilians that are miscegenated. And also the Africans and the native tribals, sometimes they mate, and a new generation of natives are formed. So we have a big miscegenated culture in Brazil. We have all kinds of backgrounds. You can find people of all colors and many different heritages. Brazilian religions traditions are based in pagelança first, that is the native traditions of the native tribals. It's like a shamanism. They have a tea that is quite famous now, that is ayahuasca, that is a hallucinogenic tea that they drink. It's quite popular now. And you have the African religions. You have a lot of African religions that came from Africa, the Candomblé, Umbanda, that they have some elements that are similar with Hinduism, but not exactly the same. Umbanda also, it's quite popular here. That is also African religion. Here you can see also more African religions that you can see some similarities with Hinduism, the symbologies and the kinds of worship, the many gods. And here also you can find Spiritismo. Spiritismo is a weird phenomenon that this man, Allan Kardec, he was from France. He's a French guy, and he studied the Vedas. And after he studied the Vedas, he wrote a book, the Book of Spirits. And this book became a religion in Brazil. It's popular here. And it's a Christian group that they believe in karma and reincarnation. It's kind of strange, but it's kind of popular here because you can find everywhere. So Dharma in Brazil. So now we will see a little bit of temples that here in Brazil. The first name that I will mention is Hermógenes. He is a pioneer in yoga in Brazil. So he bring yoga for Brazil in the beginning, I think in the 60s or 70s. He started to teach yoga here. He's one of the biggest names in yoga pioneer in Brazil. Here is Nova Gokula, New Gokul. It's a Krishna farm community in São Paulo from ISKCON. It's the biggest Hare Krishna farm and the biggest Hindu temple in Brazil. It's a Krishna temple, but also they have Sita Rama deities. Here is Nova Gokul again, many peoples in the festivals. Here you can see that the temple is near the nature, is in the farm community, is not in the city. So it's in a rural area. It's very beautiful place. Here is other temple also from ISKCON, is Garuda Vrindavana in Rio de Janeiro, Paraty. It's also in the woods, in the mountains, in the forest. So you can see a lot of nature around, waterfalls. People go there for retreats. And here is Vrinda Bhumi. Vrinda Bhumi is from Vrinda Mission, is a different Vaishnava sect. They have also a farm community. It's more simple, but it's kind of popular between the youth generation. You can also find ICC, Indian Cultural Center in Brazil. It's kind of popular. They have in São Paulo and Brasilia. They give courses on Swami Vivekananda's Cultural Center. They give lectures, courses in Hindi, Bharatanatyam, many kinds of topics. So you can find also many groups of dance in Brazil, Bharatanatyam and Odissi, especially these two dance forms, but also Kathak. You can find other Kuchipudi, but mostly Odissi and Bharatanatyam are the most popular dance forms in Brazil. You can find, especially in big cities, you can find many dancers and groups of this kind of dances. Swami Shivananda is a big influence in Brazil yoga groups. So you can find that the authentic groups of yoga, they have great respect for Swami Shivananda from Rishikesh in Hatha Yoga. Dr. Ruge, he is a pioneer in Ayurveda. in Brazil. He have an ashram of Ayurveda. He plants many Ayurvedic herbs and have a clinic. He's also a doctor. So he have a big ashram and he's a pioneer in Ayurveda in Brazil. Here is the Ramakrishnan Cultural Center in São Paulo. They have a Ramakrishna Murti there. They do some pujas, meditations. And here is Gloria Ariera. Gloria Ariera from Vedanta, Advaita Vedanta. She is a famous teacher of Advaita Vedanta. She won the Padma Awards. And as you can see, she have many disciples. The most famous one now is Jonas Massetti. Jonas Massetti, he's also Vedanta prophet teacher. He's quite famous now in Brazil. But you also can find a lot of adharma in Brazil, a lot of deturpations of the dharmic concepts. The first that I would like to mention is the Rose. The Rose is a guru from Brazil. He's not this just images of disciples. He founded a yoga group that called it the Rose Yoga, but now he changed the name. He don't use the name yoga anymore because he lost in the court. Because he create a lot of deturpations. He sell like a commercial yoga for fitness, and it's kind of like sexy, and you can find like a competition style of yoga, and he claims to be the pure yoga guru, that his yoga is the tradition that came from Shiva, but is highly commercialized, highly body focus on body, and it's not real yoga. Even that he now is not using the name anymore. Here is also a huge problem that we find in Brazil, that is the tantric massage. You can find a lot of tantric massage nowadays that is basically like sexual massage, like sometimes even prostitution in the name of tantra. So it's a deturpation that people doing here, and it's kind of weird because it creates this image that tantra is sex, that is completely fake. Not that the sex is not a problem, not like that, but it's not like that, you know. And other problem is the new age groups, the new age movement, that they came, that they say that they are highly spiritual, they are highly inclusive, but their ideas are very confused sometimes, and they mix Hindu religion with Christianity, and they sell like a new age ideas that is not really, it's kind of popular here, but you can find a lot of misinformation, usually because of these, the Hindu phobia, that you can find a lot of Hindu phobia in social media, in mainstream media, and these kind of new age groups, people, they kind of absorb this Hindu phobia, even that they claim to like Hinduism many times. Oh, but I like Hinduism, I like Devi, I like Shakti, I'm a tantric, but they promote Hindu phobic ideas and distortions of Hindu Dharma. So dharmic influences in Brazilians' mindset. The first is karma and reincarnation, that even that people don't really became Hindu, they get influenced by Hindu ideas. So here you can find a lot of Christians that they believe in karma, they believe in reincarnation. Even they don't really call themselves Hindu, or they don't convert to anything, but they absorbed the idea of the karma, and because it makes more sense, no? The vegetarianism also is a Hindu influence in Brazil. Even people don't acknowledge much, but it is. So it's kind of popular nowadays, and I credit its origins to the yoga and Ayurveda and Vaishnava movements in Brazil. Animals have soul, protection of nature. That is other aspect that came from Indic traditions that is influencing a lot Brazilian people, because in Bible people say that animals don't have soul, that animals are to be used. No? It's written in the Bible. You need to conquer the nature. The nature is there to serve you, and that is a completely egoistic mindset that leads to humanity to use and abuse the mother nature. And this creates a lot of the problems that we see now today, like the coronavirus that is highly connected with the meat consumption. uh, and Vedas, in the other hand, they claim opposite. They claim no, animals have a soul. They are living being. They are have atma. They need respect. And this kind of mentality is slowly entering, not all people, but slowly entering the minds of many people in Brazil. And the religious plurality, no? That is also a Hindu legacy, that the Hindus claim that all religions claim came from God. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita that everything is under his control. Even adharmic religions or something like that is in Krishna's and Bhagavan hand. So we don't need to convert anyone. We don't need to force convert anyone, especially. And this kind of plurality of religious plurality of tolerance towards other traditions, this is a Hindic influence, especially from Advaita Vedanta, in the Western mindset that God permeates everything, and we don't need to convert or make only one religion, only one book, only one God to live in peace. By opposite, we need to celebrate diversity. We need to celebrate what Hindus taught, that unity in diversity. So with this, I finished my slides. I talked a little bit about Hinduism in Brazil and
That was,
Hindic influences.
yes, that's wonderful, because I also wanted to understand from your idea of other sect and the belief which are there in Brazil, because I feel that they all were heavily, before Christianity and Islam, they were heavily influenced by Hindu way or Vedic way of life, and worshipping nature and believe in reincarnation and all. So it sounds very interesting, but this has raised a couple of questions in my mind, that when you follow it, and when you talk about it to your people around you, what is their response like? Do they are they very aggressive? Do they try to kind of suppress you? What is the support you have got from your family?
No, usually people support me. Usually people like, but sometimes I talk about topics that people don't understand. Here in Brazil, people don't speak English. You can find not much people that speak English. So people here have not much access for information. So many of the Shastras you can't find Portuguese translations. You need to recover to English translations. So when I talk about history or politics or even sociology of India, people don't really know what I'm talking about. They only know the basics. Oh, caste system, Sachi, only what the missionaries taught them. So there is some problem sometimes, especially with some few people that believe that I'm propagating some kind of Islamophobia or some kind of Christian phobia because I talk about the colonization. So they don't really have arguments to claim why I'm talking like that, because it's facts, that's documented facts. But they try to personal abuse sometimes, and they try to create some, but usually not a big problem in social media. Personally, I never met anyone that dared to say anything, and especially because when I preach, I try to don't go to this kind of topics, because people here don't understand. Most of people, they really not aware of the most of the issues and the things. So I try to preach for more spiritual and about karma, about vegetarianism, about spirituality, and usually people enjoy a lot. You can find a huge number of people that practice and study about yoga and Ayurveda and Vaishnavism, also other sects of Dharma, but mostly yoga, Ayurveda, and Vaishnav. They are the main groups here in Brazil.
That is very interesting. So, how about your family? Are they okay? You practicing something which they are not practicing?
Yeah, my family is fine. There was no problem, because I met the movement when I was teenager, so they see that the changes that make in my mindset and my lifestyle, keep me away from drugs, and it gave me a proper they saw the change in my mind, my happiness. They found me that I was sad and I was confused, and then I became happy and healthy. So they like it. I got no problem with. And as I told, my mother was kind of open toward other religions. She by herself took me to African religions, to gypsies. So she was kind of she's not anymore here. She died long ago, but if she was here today, maybe even she would like to go to the temples with me, for sure.
So, how many times have you come to India? What is your experience? Because now, since you are running a travel company which is specific to India, so where do you take your clients, and where do you like to travel within India?
Yeah, I traveled by myself 6 times to India, and in one of these times, two times I leave it for there for many months. And now I'm working with this business. Now, not now because the coronavirus, it closed the tourism worldwide. But before the coronavirus, I was working with the tourist business to India, and it's kind of a huge. Many people searching for it. Was kind of working very well, and people liking a lot. And usually I take groups for North India. We travel around Rishikesh, Amritsar, Rajasthan, Agra, Varanasi sometimes. And other times we also take to Kerala for Ayurveda retreat. So we make groups that focus in Ayurveda for retreat and study. So we go to Kerala. Basically, are these my two itineraries in India with the tourists. By myself, I try to travel all over India as much as possible. Uh, I love India, so I really, really, really want to travel all over it. I hope that the coronavirus let us travel again soon.
That is very true. I hope so, because even my trips to India's other states, which I mean, which I have not seen, have stopped, because earlier I used to ensure that I'm visiting a new state every time I go there. But let's hope that these things get over. So I think it was a wonderful session. I get to learn a lot of things about Brazil, and I was very keen to know how things are there, what people think about Hindu Dharma and how they practice. Um, this African religion you said is a bit surprise to me, because I live in Africa, but I never knew that it has gone and traveled to that far. As in, I do see some of their different ideas about religion, which is not Christian and is Muslim, but they have their own traditions and all. But I'm glad to know that somewhere there are people who who like to follow and understand what India has to offer and all Vedic Dharma has to offer. So thank you, Amrita ji. Thank you so much. Wonderful talking to you. and it would be nice whenever we meet after COVID, wherever possible.
Thank you, Shivaliji. It was my pleasure.
Thank you. Thank you. Namaste. Namaste.
Namaste.